is Ramone, Carias. I've been with the 402 now for a little over 2 years, and I teach drums. I teach drums, mallets, percussion, and have been a musician and an artist instructor now. Like I said, for the last 2 years. I mean, I've been drumming practically my whole life, so it's been great. It's been great. Can't say much else. I feel like that's all I ever do, is I just think about drums and music. So that's kind of my thing. So when I started at the 402, I was working a full-time job. I was at Gallup. I was doing IT recruiting. I did the whole thing. Went to school, got my degree, and then figured, okay, yeah, this is where I'm going to make my, this is where I'm going to make my piece of my living. I'm going to be doing this. And then drumming and drum teaching, I just kind of found on accident. I feel like I had a friend of mine who recommended the studio to me, because I kind of was in that phase of wanting to get into just having a side gig. Wasn't quite sure if it was ever really going to turn into a full-time thing, but yeah, I was working full-time. And then when I joined the 402, when I joined you guys 2 years ago, it's crazy to think it's been over 2 years now. So back in 2022, it was just predominantly a side thing. Had maybe only 1 or 2 students right off the gate. It was very, very, very part-time. And then honestly, just over the course of time, as my studio and my clientele and my students grew, so did my involvement with the 402 and the more lessons I taught, and then eventually, now I'm doing this full time. So it was kind of like a calling. It was a really good, it was progressive, but I liked it. It didn't start off, my mindset wasn't fully committed yet to this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, is teaching. It was more so a side passion I had. Wasn't quite sure, like I said, my mindset at the time was definitely, I had my full-time job, that's where I'm going to go. And then the more I started doing this, and it's kind of funny, it's like at first I felt really good about the work I was doing with Gallup, with IT recruiting. And then the more students I got and the more lessons I was teaching, the more just teaching I was doing in general, I found myself being way more passionate about that and less passionate about my IT recruiting. So I think that was really the big sign. And that happened last year. Last October. Last October. That happened last October. I'd say between July and October of last year was when that shift happened. And then that's when I decided, okay, it's time to just take that leap of faith. And I don't have any regrets about that. I'm obviously still here, and I have a pretty good, thriving clientele right now, and it's still growing. So I think it was all meant to be in that aspect. I think one of the things that I always wanted to do, but never knew exactly how I could do it, was give back to my community. I always felt like that, donating to causes, obviously, and to other nonprofit organizations was the way to do that. A little bit more indirect, but still enough to make me feel fulfilled with okay, I'm putting and investing something in my community, right? That was what I started doing when I was working at Gallup. But then when I started teaching, I think something just happened. It was a weird mental, emotional switch in me that I think that's what kind of coalesced those two. It was this is how I directly give back to my community, is by impacting them with this art form that is drumming, that is music. And the more that I started doing that, and the more I really got into okay, how do I tailor each, I have just, I forgot to say this in my intro, but I've been drumming, I know I said practically my whole life, but 20 plus years of knowledge is sometimes really challenging to figure out how to say to beginners, or those that are on different levels and stages, right? So it was how do I develop criterion so that I can find a way to really relate with these students and give them all this knowledge that I've accrued. And then as I started doing that, over the course of these last 2 years, having these students come back, which is always a good sign, they come back, they're engaged, they're excited, they can't wait for the next lesson, or they need a little bit more clarity on a concept that we're going through, right? That was kind of a weird out of It's really hard to explain. It really is. It's actually I'm trying my best to find my lexicon of words I know, but it's really hard to explain. But I think it was just like, the more it just kept happening and the more students I was getting, the more word of mouth amongst the parents I was teaching that was then bringing in new students. I think it was just like, I've always enjoyed teaching. Like, I've always been someone that even amongst my peers within like high school or even middle school, when I was in band, someone that could help with developing concepts or just understanding certain things within music. And then now having a directly just having the ability to directly impact kids or anyone. I don't just teach kids, I have adults too, but just teaching them, I think that's just helped really keep developing this like passion for wanting to really continue with this, because it was just like, okay, this is where I feel like my knowledge will serve it best in my community, is through this art form that I love so much, I'm very passionate about, and to get others to be passionate and excited about it too. I would say when I first started at the 402, I was already given great feedback, like just great. Like, I actually had taught at another school prior, and one of the things that I was looking for, that one of the previous artist instructors here, who was the one that my friend that recommended me to reach out to you guys. One of the things that I had told him about was how much it was very important for me to not only teach but also still engage with my art form in a way where I can still go and perform. I'm still a performer at heart too. So I wanted to not feel too pigeonholed into art too. I didn't want to have the ultimatum of needing to either do one or the other. That was one of the hardships that I faced at the previous school. It was either I taught or not, or essentially not. Like, I couldn't do both. So when he told me that you guys really were really for the artist instructors here, that was like one of my very good calling points to reach out to you guys. And then that hasn't changed. I think that has been very, very much proven time and time again, how important you guys want us to fulfill our ability to perform and or whatever with our art, while still maintaining our studios here within the school. So I'd say, if anything, it just helped me really solidify just how much trust I had in you guys from the beginning. Because trust is just one of those things you build over time, right? Like, you have the initial trust, but then just with repeated action, that trust becomes super it becomes very, very it just comes more solidified. So the more that I was able to speak with you guys about hey, I have these, the communication, being able to communicate when we had shows coming up or when I had gigs coming up, etc., and helping just maneuver certain schedules around, whatever. You guys were just super open and very honest and very helpful with that from the get-go, from the very start, and that has shown throughout the time that I've been here. So if anything, it's just helped, solidify my trust in the organization on that front. Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, great, honest, great on the cue feedback about that, right? But it's true. I'd say that was one of my biggest thank yous with being with you guys. Is just the ability to really help us realize ourselves as much as we want to give back to our to our communities as well within our art form and teaching it. So, yeah. I think when I think about moments where impacting the lives of the arts really hits home, I've seen it plenty of times within my own students, and more recently even just through a lot of the summer camps that we just recently did too. I thought that was a really beautiful thing to see those who didn't even knew about, they didn't have an idea that the school existed or offered certain art forms like this, and so it was really cool to see. So I'll speak on that first, because I think that was more kind of larger picture, was watching a lot of these art camps fire off, and then hearing amongst all the artist instructors, and even some of my students who were also going through some of the other art camps that weren't drum related, and having them feed into those different avenues of art. I just thought that was incredible, because it was like you could see the lights in these people's eyes, whether they were children, because most of them are children, but there were probably some that were older. Obviously, I did a beat making. I don't know why I'm blanking on it, but I did a beat making workshop with Andre here, and seeing individuals that I've never seen before, watching them just gleam with and really beam with just like inspiration and creativity and excitement for these projects that they're just getting exposed to for like the first time. I think for me that was like and then giving the space, right? Like having the space and the resources that they could come in and have the success right from the get-go. I thought was like, it was really cool to see them really like come through with all that. So I think for me that was kind of like my big, like for me that was like, oh okay, this is how we impact it, right? Like, and I mean obviously we do, I know you guys do other things as in getting out into the community, reaching with other like non-for-profits and whatnot. It was just cool seeing it already in here in the home front. So it's more like, not only can we preach, but we can practice it too, you know what I mean? Like the organization absolutely has it where we definitely find the right people who live the mission. It feels less of like, it feels more like a way of life. Like I think we just inherently believe that, like we are impacting lives through the arts. Like, and I think that's such a beautiful message, because I think that's what art is. It does just that. And the way that the 402 does it is so positive and safe and like there's just so much energy and passion that goes into it. So when I saw like, when I was a part of my own workshop, and then even when I'm seeing some of these art camps fire off and these kids leaving so excited and happy, it's like, yeah, that is the mission right there. So it was really cool to see. It's really cool to see. Promise I'm coming up with an answer. I just want to take a minute to think about that, because it is one of those things where like, you see a space that you come to do your work, and I feel like the 402 is much more than that for me. It's become another home in my heart and in my soul, because of its ability to help me realize who I am. The 402 I think was a helpful step for me in identifying who I really was. I struggled for a long time with understanding my place in the world and my profession. I wonder if maybe some of these artist instructors came from a similar place where they either had a strong inkling that they knew that they were artists, but because of societal blah blah blah, they just had to stuff that down, right? But the 402 helped me really transform me, really. So it's an important thing to me, because it helped me realize who I was. And I think that's just something I'll always treasure about the 402. So that's what you guys mean to me. You guys are like just another home in my heart, really. For me to come here, like I don't come here and I don't think like, oh, I gotta go to work. I know it's silly, but like I understand now that mantra of like, do what you love every day, and it never feels like working. It's right. I literally get to wake up and teach and play drums. Like to me, that's like the best. That's the best thing. I can't. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how else to explain that. It gets me excited. So when I come here, it's just like I'm ready to pour my soul and heart into these lessons, into this organization. So it's another home. I treat it, with respect, and I try what I can, to do around here and whatnot to help better the organization too in any way I can. So. That's what it means to me. That's what it means to me. I think what it's done for me personally, I guess I kind of touched on that in my first answer, but it helped me really realize like the artist that I was meant to be, and the teacher too. I think personally it's helped me become a better teacher, being surrounded by others that are doing they may not be teaching drums, but they're doing the same thing. They're teaching a skill set, an art, a passion, and being really networked with them has been super helpful, even on the social end of things, right? I've made really great friendships with everyone here for the most part, and everyone's been super helpful with just encouraging me to go after it and really just live and breathe, the art form that I was meant to teach, right? Professionally too, I think it's been great just having just the resources that you guys have with helping with the outreach, helping with understanding what it's like to actually work as a self proprietor too. Those 101 classes have been extremely helpful, I think. So I think it was a great way to get me engaged with also thinking, because it's one thing to be very passionate about the art, but then it's another to really combine the actual business mindset of it too. And that's definitely something that I think the Pro 2 has helped me with too, is just understanding that business aspect of it and really providing good resources on that too.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
One of the best moments was watching it's honestly every week I just see the development. I think for me, one of the best things about this is watching every one of my students get a little bit better each week. That's what excites me, is they're taking the material, they're understanding it, and even if they don't understand it, they're coming back, they're asking questions, I'm helping clarify, because I think for me as a teacher, one of the important things too is being able to help, they're helping me become a better teacher, because if they don't understand a concept that I think is like second nature to me, obviously there's some miscommunication. That helps me go back and dig through resources, yada yada yada. But it's such a two-way thing, and I love that about it, is because I have all this knowledge, but sometimes knowing how to express it or explain it in a way that's understandable to certain drummers at certain levels is a great challenge to have. I think those moments have really helped me develop better as a teacher. But I think one of the best, truly for me, one of the best rewarding moments is just seeing that, and with the drums, it's almost impossible not to get excited, because it's such a physical instrument. It's a very spiritual instrument too, but that's a whole nother interview for another day. But it really channels a lot, and when you can see these kids finally tapping into that ability to kind of channel their feelings, their creativity, or just getting better at a concept and then taking it and voicing it in their own way, I think just seeing their individuality coming out, their personality coming out in their playing has been one of the best parts, because that's all I can really teach them. Is I can show them all the concepts, I can show them all the techniques, I can show them all the language of drumming, but for me, it's the biggest thing is helping them understand how to voice it, how to find their own voice on it, their own personalities. And when they start to finally do that, it helps me know, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm helping these kids out, right? So when I see that gets me excited. It's one of the best moments in my, just with any of my students, because I see it every week. Every week they get better and better and better, and it's what keeps me coming back. It's just they keep getting better and better and better, and it makes me sad in a way, because they're man, if they keep getting better this fast, they ain't gonna need me. I'm gonna have to find new students, but they are getting better, and it's fulfilling. That's one of the most fulfilling parts of this gig, really, is just watching them grow. Yeah, honestly, that's what I can say about that. I think being just improving my communication has been the biggest thing. When you start, for me, when I started out, I only had a few students, so communicating was a little too lax, I'll admit. Even amongst the other artists, it was a little too lax, because I wasn't fully committed. Once I started to get more committed, I was okay, I definitely need a better communication in some of those aspects. But it was great because the parents were super responsive and very helpful in providing feedback to me. The artist instructors that I reached out to when I needed assistance with certain things were also very responsive as well. And I think that just helped me really facilitate the big social aspect within this gig, is really becoming more active in communication. And then as as the studio, as my students grew, and my involvement with the 4-2 became more and more, I think it was more important to me to really establish like a lot of consistency too. Making sure that I'm on time to things, and obviously if I'm running late, communicate. It's a big communication game, and it's good that this helped me out with that a lot. It's like amongst the artists, with the parents, really keeping the schedule tight. It's like, yeah, communication was like a really helpful, really helpful avenue for me to really get better at, so that I could build that trust amongst my peers and with my students and with my with the parents of these students. And I think it's because with that credibility, they were able to pass on my name to others too. So and then even the artist instructors here are so kind of sharing availabilities and communications, so that I could. It's I don't know. It's hard to really put into words sometimes, because it's something so simple, and then it just kind of built. But I'd say that the relationships I formed here with the artist instructors has been really crucial, because when I get to see how they're kind of building their studios up, it inspires and encourages me, and then they can help me they give me strategies and ways that I can do that, and then I can kind of convey that with the parents too, or use those strategies to then outreach to certain demographics, which like in this case is essentially parents, kids in school, yada yada. So there's that business mindset speaking right now, but there's just so many moving parts that have helped me with this. And I'm sorry, I feel like I may have strayed away from the question a little bit, because sometimes my stream of thought also, it's like, oh, well, that's a good thing to highlight. But so we're impacting just with everyone within the organization, and the way that communicating has helped me just improve my relationships with the students and the parents, with my artists, and with the other artist instructors too. I can't put enough emphasis on communication. Yeah, because I think that helped build a lot of rapport and trust, because it just showed that there was a lot of care, and I want everyone to know how much I care about them and the art form and so on and so forth. Yeah. When I left my corporate job to pursue this, I kind of thought it was more. I mean, I will admit that the corporate environment that I was in helped me, I think, on one side of the business front. As a recruiter, you're doing a lot of outreach and follow-up, and you're essentially a salesperson for human capital. That's it, more or less what a recruiter is. We are trying to sell a company, that's our product, to a human. It's just like, put it in layman. It's just weird when I think about it like that. I was like, I am literally selling a company to a literal person. I'm trying to convince them to either leave their current company. It's like trying to say, like, listen, you may like Bounty, but what if I told you about Viva? Viva is I really prefer like that paper towel. It's literally like that. It's like you're trying to convince someone to buy a Toyota over a Ford or something like that. You know what I mean? So that was one of the things that helped me, was like, okay, I have to establish credibility and rapport, because now I'm selling myself. I am now a product in a weird way. So it took a minute to really I had, Gallup helped me as a recruiter develop the outreach and the communication. Like if I had a lead, follow up on it. If they don't, and then I establish a cadence of response to then seal what I call the deal, I guess, which is the first lesson, right? Them actually coming through, applying, and then selecting me, yada yada. But it's like over time that balance started to make more sense, especially when I had to start understanding how to take out my own taxes and and all that, really managing really understanding this new, just really understanding that I was creating a business as much as I am living an art form at the same time. it definitely took a minute. I'd say this last year was really helpful with me getting it into balance, because it's true. Like, if you want to make a living through your art, in the world we live in, bills still got to get paid. So how do you do that? And it came from understanding just how to create a service, if you will, that was that people would pay for, and over time I came to really trust that I had something to give that was worth people's money and time, which was their kids expressed an interest in drumming. I had the knowledge and experience. That's what I was offering, and then now here we are. So I think once I started to really understand that whole cycle, I was like, oh, okay, this is how the business element and it helps, because I think once you can find that balance between selling my art, but not selling your art it's weird. It's like you want to sell your art because you got to make money and you have to live. But for me, it was like helping understand, like, I have to sell my art to make money, but I'm happy, and it also is, it's never really like I do this for money. The money just helps me do this better. I don't know. It's just like how I have to think about it, so that I don't compromise the money aspect of it from compromising like my love for the art, right? It's weird. It's like always going to be, I think, a work in progress and balancing act, because as your studio grows, the more money you make, the more taxes that have to come out, yada yada yada. Like you do find a threshold where it's like, it'll come into balance. I think for me, what just helped was understanding really. Okay, just to kind of wrap up this question. Sorry. The big thing that came from me, that helped me, was understanding that I had something that was worth purchasing, right? I had something that I could give, and that was my knowledge and experience with drumming that these parents trusted me with. And the organization helped, you guys helped with also with creating these amazing profiles for us. They got to read our bios, letting us actually essentially write our bios too was a very big thing, so that people can kind of get an idea of who we are as artist instructors before even selecting us too. I think that helped a lot with really like understanding how even just from like front end to now back end of things, that was a big balancing understanding for me too. Was just like it's almost like from point of sale to to that. And sometimes it's hard to get the business mind, because I've been in it for so long, and like you start to see it. So you're like, okay, I'm not really a corporate guy anymore, but I do see how those I do see that intersection a lot. But I would agree that there is a balance, and I think there's nothing wrong with recognizing that there needs to be a balance, so that you can feel like I think there needs to be a pretty holistic balance, so that you feel secure financially, but also like I look at it also like I said, holistically. You got to feel secure financially. You also have to feel secure and happy within your heart and your soul with it too. And I think for me, when I got to that point, that's when I knew I was in balance with the business side of it, because I understood a good amount of, the importance of generating income with it, but also understanding that was a result of my love and passion for it. I think that's why they go hand in hand so much. Is like the more passionate and the more credible, obviously, and the knowledgeable you are, word gets out, and then you get more students, that income rises. It's a whole cycle. It's a whole cycle. But I think a balance is necessary if you really want to go and do this full time, right? Like it's uncomfortable, at first, but I think you learn to be comfortable with it, because your love for the passion it's going to supersede it no matter what. I always look at it as like the business aspect, the income, the opportunities is just a byproduct of the amount of time and energy and love that you put into the art form. I would say to anyone who's wanting to join or is already here and wanting to ramp up, so I'll try and speak on both of them. The organization it's an incredible organization. If you really have a belief in a full, like if you have it in your soul that you want to impact people through your art form, the 402 is the spot. You guys have done an amazing job with providing us a space and tools to be able to promote ourselves. You guys especially help. So for those who are wanting to come in and join the organization, know that the 402 has your best interests at heart. So I would definitely lean into that, because that was one of the big things that got me here, was being told just that. And then for the individuals that, I guess this even applies to individuals that want to come in right away and they want to, go full time, or those who are thinking about it. I will admit that there was no big plan. There was no real plan. The plan was I just wanted to do this, right? And Ben will tell you too that sometimes you do just got to take a leap of faith, and it's going to feel uncomfortable. I don't want to lie to you all. Like, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first, but if that again, I come back to this trust thing. You have to trust that it will, what you put in, will return something for you. So I just encourage you to if you really, if you feel deep down like I did in your soul, in your heart, that you wanted to do this, like this is something that you really want to do, you don't have to quit your job. I just did. That's not what you got to do. Just be ready to take that leap of faith. I think once you're ready to take that leap of faith, once you're ready to, really, however all those things go with like traversing the unknown, like it's gonna feel weird, it's gonna feel uncomfortable, but if you just stay the course and you believe, like I know it's corny, but it's true, because that's what I did. I had no plan. I had ways to, I had a bit of a cushion, if you will, just through my previous job, but it was, I definitely recommend just looking at your situation, because everyone's situation is different too. So everyone's path is going to be unique, and be okay with that. Be okay with your own path. You don't have to do what any one of us who have done this or is now doing this full time have to do. And I also encourage you to speak with us, because that way we can go a little bit more in depth with what things work for us. Because I think that was what helped me too. It's like, okay, if I see individuals in this organization that are doing it, what's helping them? Don't be afraid to seek out information, because that's big key too. But really, I'd say the biggest advice is be ready to take that leap of faith, and things will follow. Things will follow. If you love it, if you are sure in your heart and your soul that this is what you want to do, I strongly believe it will happen. It will. It's done it for me, and it's done it for anyone else who's ever done that as well here. So I encourage you, just take that leap of faith. Take that leap of faith.